right. Yes. Welcome to the show, Coach Mike McCarthy, former Packers coach, Super Bowl champ, Dallas Cowboys for a stint, which, it always pains all of us, but what a great time. Coach, it's so good to see you. Really appreciate you jumping on. I was watching you on McAfee's show. I would love to know what you're up to these days. I see you weekly on his show. So you still studying ball, still focused in on the football world. What are you up to?
Well, thanks, number one, guys, for having me on, Mason. It's great to see you. But I'm frankly, I'm enjoying life in Wisconsin. It's been incredible coming back home, and the kids are back at Notre Dame, middle school and high school, so loving that. But just getting back in touch with life up here and in Green Bay and Door County has been awesome. Had a great summer. But yes, my days are full. I got time that's dedicated to football, and time number one is being a dad, getting to do the things, as you know, Mason, in this industry, you miss out on a lot. So I'm really enjoying the drives to school, the pickup to school, all the little things that you miss out on as a father for so many decades. So it's been great to get back, and but I'm keeping really busy, and it's been really cool to be home.
I love hearing that. Yeah, Coach. I mean, I was. Molly, and I was, I decided it's like, all right, my career's over. It was about 6 months, and she's like, that's probably why I'm doing radio right now, because she's just like, hey, you got to fill your day with something. Like, it's awesome that you're taking the kids, doing all that, but it's like, let's
get off your butt, Mason.
Do something every once in a while. So I went over to the dark side. I'm doing this media thing, which a lot of your former players are doing now, mind you. Like, this is, we got a big contingent of us, but I want to dive into a couple things. Looking at, and I heard you say on the McAfee show, and seeing these reports, you're going to the game this weekend. Yeah. So I'm curious, who invited you to the game? Was it your boy Aaron? Was it Steelers? Was it Packers? Like, which way? Who invited you to this game this weekend?
Just very, very blessed to have friends on both sides of this contest. So it's I really, my plan was just to go back and watch it with my parents. So, but
nice.
Our oldest son's going back. I have nephews that are going, so I'm going to accompany them guys and just kind of slide in and slide out, because there's nothing like seeing a live football. I mean, I was so fortunate to be able to go to I actually was at the first two home games for the Packers this year. So it was just so cool to be a fan, stand there and watch the game. And so I definitely want to take that in Sunday night. But yeah, I'm really trying to get back, Pittsburgh being my hometown, really trying to get back to home to see particularly my parents and my family as much as I can. So this was really kind of a scheduled visit. So, frankly, that's why I'm heading back, and I'll probably stay for a number of days.
I love that. Yeah, it's so awesome. And I always remember some of your stories from night before the games, talking about, the bar and the fights in the school, all the different things, the Pittsburgh tough. And it's so awesome. And it, the irony that Aaron now is playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and, the connection that we all had, and those memories and those moments that we had together in Green Bay. A question I have for you is, I feel fortunate that I didn't have to ever experience this, playing in Green Bay all those years. And then whenever I went to New York for a couple games, I didn't play against the Packers. But what was that like for you? And what do you think Aaron's going through in this first time going up against, your former team that you have so many memories, so many relationships, so many connections with? What does that feel like?
Well, it's definitely real, and I think we're all programmed to say the right things when you get in front of a camera or get in front of a microphone. But I did see, I guess he made a comment, it'd probably be a lot different for him if it was in Lambeau, and I definitely agree with that from experience. So, the emotional part of it is tremendous. I know going back to Green Bay in 2022, that was difficult to walk out on the field, because that's when it really hits you. You think you're fine, and because you have so much that you need to do leading up to the game, and you get into that game day mode. But personally, when I went back, when I went to the Cowboys, I I would always go to the home games really early, and but I start doing it on the away games too. So it's just, I think after being out of the football, I just love Sundays so much. My point is being, so I was at Lambeau, I would go with the trainers in the equipment guys.
Nice.
So you're there 4.5 hours before the game. And it was really cool because as you go throughout the NFL, particularly on the road, you get to know the grounds crew. You get to know all, their stadium people. So because you're there so long, but so going in early at Lambeau was awesome because seeing Scotty Peters and Justin Crabb and all those security guys that that we got to know over the years there. So getting to see so much of the just the local people was really good, and I really wasn't planning on that, and frankly, Aaron and I had a chance to visit in a private location before the game, and that was important to me, and I think both of us, and I'm glad we did that because and frankly, it was like old times. I mean, we actually had a lot longer than I thought we would have, but then he went out and played. He played his ass off. So I don't know if that was the right thing for me.
Yeah. You made him feel comfortable. Yeah, it's like all right, just like the good old days.
Too comfortable,
no doubt. So, so that was good. So I think you need to embrace it. I think running is the point I'm trying to make. Is you're that place is you always be a part of that, and and Green Bay will always be a big part of Aaron's life, and and I think the pregame, or particularly as the pregame, the early time to go out, I think it'll be a special time for him because he'll get to see the people, particularly the support staff, and this better than anybody, Mason. The guys in Green Bay are incredible. I mean, it's just people who've been there forever, and so I think he'll enjoy that. But but once the ball snapped, he'll have a little bit extra, and because it'll be important to him to win the game. No different for the Packers to go in there and get this win. So, but I think it's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to the environment. But yeah, I hope he embraces it because it's real. You can't hide from it. I did the same thing, and I know really actually Dak Prescott and I talked about the game in Green Bay after the fact, like after the season. And I was always, and I think my mode, Mason. I never wanted to be a distraction, and I always try to keep it always about the players. And Dak had told me, he goes, frankly, I wish you would have got up there and just, said, hey, F the Packers, and show us how important this was to you to win that game. And that was interesting that he expressed that to me after the fact. So, so next time, if I was Matt LaFleur, I'd tell him to go flip Aaron off and tell him to go.
Go get after
nice.
Enjoy it, man. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. But I do think it's important, and you do want to make sure you're emotionally right for your teammates and everybody involved. But there's going to be a lot of emotions run through his veins. I think it's only natural.
Coach Mike McCarthy joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. And Coach, as a follow-up to that, we've heard Aaron talk a lot this week about how much Green Bay meant to him and sharing all sorts of memories. He was talking about a game from 2009, I think, the other day, where it's like he still knew play by play, everything that happened. And he's talked about how this is not a revenge game in any way, where I think, maybe when Favre went to the Vikings, we felt like there was a little more of that animosity than we're feeling. What does it mean to you as his former coach and having the ties to the Packers that you have, that he's taken this kind of like attitude of, yes, he really wants to win this game, and there might be a little extra juice there, but that it feels like it's been a pretty positive week in terms of the relationship between Aaron and the Packers?
I think like a lot of things in life, when relationships come to an end, they all do at some point in professional sports. I think the exit is a big part of that, and I think just the way he was able to leave, and be a part of that decision, and go on to his next opportunity, and now this is his third opportunity. I just think the emotion, the potential negative emotion, is not there. I mean, it's removed from the situation, and that's so. And frankly, the Packers deserve that, and Aaron Rodgers deserves that. So I just think it's a healthy situation, and I hope he enjoys the hell out of it. And but I think it'd be naive to think that he's going to feel the emotion of seeing that G on that helmet across the field.
Yeah, it's going to be so different. I wonder if that's why the Steelers chose to wear the alternate jerseys, like almost make the Packers go into their white alternate stuff. So it's just like, all right, there's no confusion here. Like Aaron's not going to get up there and be like, oh my gosh, look at that helmet. That looks really familiar. Coach, just even talking to you and thinking, like, kind of reminiscing, thinking back. I mean, what a great run we had. It's with Ted Thompson setting up those teams, with you leading the way. I look back and filled with so much gratitude with that time that we had together. Right, so many amazing moments, so many awesome things. And then I did start thinking about this year with you not being in Dallas anymore, the Green Bay Packers making that trade with Micah Parsons. Like, we had a few big movements there, but I don't think we were ever involved in anything like that, of that magnitude. So I actually kind of want to ask a two-part, like, what would that have been like, feeling that trade and like getting a guy like Micah Parsons coming to Green Bay? And had you still been in Dallas, what would your feel have been as a head coach? And it's like, you just traded away, our best defensive player. I'm just curious to see, like, from that perspective as a head coach, what that might feel like.
Oh, that's a great question. I think, first off, I think what you learn as a head coach, and it's through trial and error, I know it was for me personally, is you have to separate the business component for the players and even the coaches. We went through it as a coaching staff in 24, but Micah Parsons was in a contract situation, and we all had contracts, and everybody's situation is personal to them and with the club. You've been through it, and so you have to respect that and have a high understanding, because until you go through it, it's difficult. So let's not make it more difficult with opinions on both sides of the spectrum. I've always felt so. I've always believed that you have to support the player or the individual in the contract situation, and then obviously as the head coach, you're working for the club. So it's a I think it's just a position you got to be operate with clarity. So with that being said, I was glad to see Micah Parsons get the contract, whether it was in Dallas or in Green Bay, and obviously you had some communication with the Green Bay people about him. So, because he deserved that contract. I mean, he has earned that. I mean, the way he's performed, the first 4 years of his career, he has earned that contract. So on a personal level, as a head coach, I mean, you always want to see your players get paid, particularly, when you have to wait and earn it and they go through, because it is difficult. It's difficult on them. It's difficult on their families, more importantly. So I was happy to see that. But the reality of it is, for the Dallas Cowboys, it really, Mason, has put them in the realm that I was always preaching and what we lived in with Ted. I mean, draft and develop. I mean, that our era together is the blueprint. I mean, it's from 06, all the way through. I mean, that was something that we just really committed to. Now we had we had some great free agents in Charles Woodson and Julius Peppers and some of those guys that we sprinkled in. But the core of our football team that moved the needle on our roster every year was those guys that are already there, fighting to get those second contracts, and you build it. And really, Dallas is in that mindset right now. So I think the roster is as healthy as it's ever been from a financial standpoint. There's been more second contracts done in Dallas in the last 2 months than there was in prior years. So, their draft and develop, mechanism has increased, which I think will help them continue to grow, because that's a young football team. I don't think people realize how young that team is. That's a young team, and now those guys are all in their second, third, fourth year, and some of those, they got the two big contracts with CD and Dak, but you got a lot of really good football players, and that was always our strength. It was always exciting for me when you guys got that second contract, because those are the guys I wanted to coach. We've already been together 3 or 4 years, and it was, and I thought that was a huge component of our success in Green Bay, because you just go back to, and I think teams have to trust their tradition. When you look at when you win in Green Bay and how you won, we had 77 players. I'll never forget ring night. And you can only start the season with 65, 66 at that time. It's 68 now, but so that means we had to go outside of our original group and bring free agents in season, and those guys came in and obviously helped push us into that playoff run and win a Super Bowl. So my point is, you cannot have enough good football players. And how do you attain that? trust your draft process, and fight like hell, and develop those guys, give them everything, and then get that second contract. So I think that's where really the bulk of your team comes from, and and Green Bay's been doing that for decades.
I love it. We got Coach Mike McCarthy on the Mason Crosby Show, just talking ball, reminiscing, diving down memory lane a little bit, but I have to talk about Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, and their comparisons are wild right now. Like, I hadn't looked at it that close, but I saw some of their stat lines in their year 3 as the starter and how similar they are at this moment. From just kind of your breaking down film, watching the games, kind of looking at it. Obviously, talk about Aaron as a young player, and then kind of what you see in Jordan Love and his development, as he's been the starter now for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's been really cool to watch Jordan, especially, being here in Green Bay and seeing the games every week. And actually, as I said, I had a chance to go to the first 2 home games, so good to see him play live. But you remember, 08 was a tough year for all of us, just the way, that training camp went. And then I think we had, 10 games that came down to a 2-minute drill, and we were 2-8 or something.
Yep.
Crazy, which was something that I think helped us, learn from that. And I think Aaron went on to be, I think he'll go down as one of the greatest 2-minute quarterbacks. I think that experience really helped us because we actually spent a lot more time on it after that. But, so he had the 08, his initial season was tough. He had the shoulder injury he played through, which was pretty remarkable, coming out of that Tampa Bay game and lining up against Atlanta. And so, so he had those training. And I thought really 09 is when he arrived. I mean, I thought our 09 second half of the season, we were, probably one of the best teams in football. If not, I thought that run, after losing to Pittsburgh on the last play to Ben Roethlisberger to Mike.
Right in the corner. Yeah.
Oh man, it was a killer. But overtime game, I think, too. So I mean, it was. But we went on that run at the end of 09, and I thought he played at an MVP level. So I really felt that he, had that here we go, moment that he because the 08 was his first year as a starter, and then 10 was a hard year. We I mean the injuries were, our injury challenge was monumental there in the early years, especially that the Washington game. I still remember the yellow card that they used. I'd write down the names of the guys that were injured, and it was the first time I had to flip it over and had names on the back. So I mean, there was so many guys in that game. So that was a really hard year for us, but definitely for him too. I mean, and we had some big moments in the game at Atlanta, in the regular season near the end where he just played out of his mind, and just the one throw he had to Jordy to his left in the corner end zone, still one of the many great throws that he's made in his time. And I think that obviously gave us tremendous confidence going back down there in the divisional round, in the playoff. So, but then, then once we hit our stride into the playoffs, and he played at such a high level, at the Super Bowl, won the MVP, and then obviously 11 was his first MVP year. So, when you see that ride that he had, his first 3 years were not smooth sailing. I mean, he has some really tough up and down moments, as we did as a team. And so I do think Jordan has seen some of those similar peaks and valleys, which is so healthy for him. And I think he'll be better for it moving forward. So I do hope he takes that next big step here. Year 3 would be awesome, to see them make a run like that with him at the helm. But yeah, the numbers are scary. But when you look at the trend lines of, some of the things they have to go through, the ups and downs, there are a tremendous amount of similarities.
Yeah, for sure. It actually, it does feel similar there in Green Bay right now, like with that 2010 team, with some of those early teams, like try to establish a great run game, have defensive players that are elite and unique. I mean, that 09 defense was ridiculous down the stretch, right? I mean, they were so good.
The 10 defense is the best defense we ever had.
And then 10, exactly. I mean,
I think it ranked in the league. Yeah, so that was the best defense on paper. I mean, statistically, of my head coaching career in Green Bay. So sorry to interrupt you there, Mason.
No, I love because that stretch of time was just it was so unique. And then I know we could go back into all the all the coffers. I've relived a bunch of those moments on the show, where it's just like, oh gosh, like 2011 and 14 and all the
no. Don't even
16,
mention. Don't even
come
mention
on.
some of that,
I
Mason.
know.
Come on.
Yeah, just hardships, but we got that Super Bowl, we got it done, and that was so special. I do want to, I want to ask about, you said you're watching film, you're kind of doing some of the stuff. Is your goal to get back into coaching in the NFL, or there's a trend of some coaches, former NFL coaches going to NCAA. Is that somewhere? There was a picture of you at a UW Badgers women's volleyball game.
Yeah, Coach, I got a question for
Tommy's
you.
got a question.
Yeah,
for you.
Coach, I just want you to rank these 3 colors, if you could, for me here. Crimson, all right, scarlet, and University of Wisconsin red. Which one do you think fits the best for you? Because I just want to know where you're at with the color red right now.
Well, this is the one of many things I love about Wisconsin. The pride here is as thick as it gets. There's nothing like it. And I think, growing up in Pittsburgh, you don't realize it until you leave there. I trust me, I get it. And I truly went there to see the volleyball. My youngest daughter, Izzy, just played on a national championship volleyball team in Dallas, had a tremendous experience in that, and we know what, University of Wisconsin women's volleyball stands for. I mean, just what an incredible program. Just the whole day it was incredible for her and her friends that are also volleyball players. So that was
that's awesome.
a great day that they set up for us. But also, I mean, Jessica and I have a relationship with the University of Wisconsin and Children's Hospital. So we're very fond of Madison and everything that goes on, have such great respect for the university and all their, and all their sports teams. Have had opportunities to go down there and see Greg with the basketball team in the past and so forth and so forth. So, I mean, hey, I think Wisconsin's University of Wisconsin's a great place. But to answer your question about coaching, I have to, I think it's like, you got to keep your head in it, and it's been fun. I just have a couple of coaches that I'm a lot tighter group than I did the last time. Because in 19, we almost had like a half of a coaching staff here. Not that many guys, but it was full bore on. I mean, there's
You're
stuff
basically running a full season schedule, right? Like
we had
19.
cut up every Monday and Tuesday, and so I mean, there's still things that I could use today that we never used from the 2019 McCarthy program.
Nice.
So, but I'm really taking a dive back into some of the things offensively I've done early in my career, because this league's about trends, but ultimately you got to fit the schemes to your players, and the flexibility within the West Coast offensive system that I've been a part of in 1989. I'm going back to that. We went a different direction in Dallas for all the right reasons. When I went there, Dak had been been there since 2016. So I wanted to build off of what he established already in that current system. I thought that was so important. I witnessed Joe Montana going through the same system his whole career. Brett Favre, same system his whole career. Aaron Rodgers, same system his career. So I thought that was very important for us to do that with Dak, and I think it really benefited. He benefited from that, our 5 years, and I think it's definitely helped him because hey, the quarterbacks are franchise players, so I think it's a smart decision to go that way to build that system clearly around them. So I'm getting more back in tune with how we did it in Green Bay, but really the system I've been in since 1989. So that's really what I'm getting ready for. The game management stuff, you're always seeing things happen week in and week out. So you check that box, add that situation and so forth. The head coaching, philosophical, setups that you have, and that just staying in tune with that.
Do you practice on the kids there up there in Green? Like you practice on the kids at the house? It's like, all right, managing the kids is harder sometimes, or similar. I mean, it's actually similar. We're all just big kids there in the locker room, anyways.
Well, I hope you're having more success than I am, because if my players listened to me like my kids, they would have fired me after the first game. So,
exactly,
teenage daughters are a trip. I love every minute of it, but it's nice to get your chops busted all the time from your teenage daughters. So I'm loving life in that area.
Well, coach, yeah, like, so obviously here in my house, I have 5 girls that tell me I'm wrong every second of every day. So it's just like, I just like wait to, till they ask me a question. And then it's odd. They ask me questions. And then whenever I give an answer that I thought they might like, I'm still wrong. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Dad, you're an idiot.
Exactly. All right. Well, we do our predictions for games every week. I know this might be tough, with the Steelers and the Packers, but what do you see in this game? Do you like watching both teams? Like, how do you think they match up, and what do you think the result's going to be on Sunday?
Yeah, I think this is one of the old school. I don't even know if they do this anymore. I know when I was a kid, back in my dad's bar, you always look for the pick'em games, so you didn't have to give anybody any points. I think this is clearly that type of game. I kind of felt this way when Packers and the Cowboys played. I just, so when you get in these tight ball games on paper going in, I mean, Captain Obvious is the turnover ratio. That'll be critical. I haven't seen. Have you seen the weather? Has anybody seen the weather for?
It looks nice. I think. Yeah. Like maybe low 50s at game time.
Pittsburgh weather Sunday night. 56 and clear.
There you go.
Yep.
That's perfect. And as you know, Aaron's a great bad weather quarterback anyways. Jordan, they both, I think they both do a really good job taking care of the football. So, but I think, just watching the games leading up to this, I mean, just watching last Thursday, and I know Pittsburgh has a mini bye week coming off it, but, Pittsburgh's run defense is going to be challenged, and I think, that's something that they're going to have to stop the Packers from running the football, because I do think Packers do a really nice job of committing to that. And, but Green Bay's, their weaponry in the perimeter. I love their perimeter guys. I mean, they have the ability to, attack the middle of the field with both the tight ends and the receivers, and they got dynamic guys that, just get the ball in his hands. So, and I think it really helps Jordan. He has to play completion football. He doesn't have to go try to get the ball to a certain player, and I think that always bodes well. And it's what I believe in how you should play as a quarterback and try to get above that 70% completion rate. And if you watch Aaron last week against Cincinnati, he's definitely, I felt like he hit his stride of getting that football to all the tight ends, the backs, and obviously Metcalf's going to get his 12 targets every game. So, I think he's starting to hit his stride. And, what I'm always curious too, when you sit there and watch him, is, his cadence is such a weapon. And now the familiarity now with that offensive line, that I'm sure that's getting better each week, as they go through the season. So I think this is going to be a hell of a football game, but this game's going to be about defense. It's going to be about defense. And I think whatever defense obviously plays the best will win the game, because I think both these differently. I think Pittsburgh's offense is obviously different than how Green Bay is going to play, but they both have showed that they can go north of 30, pretty consistently now.
Well, I love it. Coach, I really appreciate you jumping on, taking the time. When I got that text this morning, I was so excited. And you talking about your coaching philosophy. I've talked about this a ton on the show, and great coaches coach their players, and they coach their players' strengths. And you're one of those great coaches where you look at who you have on your roster, you build it around them, and you make them you unlock the best out of everybody. So, Coach, I really appreciate you. Have fun out there in Pittsburgh, and go Pack, go.
Oh, thank you. You look great, Mason. Guys, thanks for having me.
I know a little more gray, but it's the stress of all these girls.
Thanks, Coach.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
That's Coach Mike McCarthy with us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. So much to unpack from that. We got to get to break. We will come back. We're going to talk some fantasy football at the top of the 1 o'clock. This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the official 5G network of our Green Bay Packers.